Good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Welcome to Conversations with Women Leaders in Los Angeles. And this event is brought to you by the University of West Los Angeles, UWLA School of Business. My name is Cynthia Ruiz, and I am a four-time author. I am a leadership expert, executive coach, and an adjunct professor at the University of West Los Angeles. Now, today we have some amazing women you're going to be hearing from and answering questions about leadership. So between the five of us, there's four speakers and myself. Between the five of us, we have direct oversight over billions of dollars and millions of people. Now, one thing I want you to know, the University of West Los Angeles is the largest Black-owned university in Southern California, and maybe even the entire state. So let me welcome the president of the university, Mr. Robert Brown, president of the University of West Los Angeles. Welcome, President Brown.
Thank you, Cynthia. I'm so happy to be here this evening. My name is Robert Brown, and I'm the president of the University of West Los Angeles. I've been the president now for over 22 years, and I'm delighted that we're able to offer this program. And I want to welcome all of you attendees out there, but also I want to thank and salute and welcome our panelists this evening. These are amazing women, and I'm certain that there's going to be lots of insights that they will provide for you on a professional level as well as a personal level. So I'd like to thank Joanne Peterson, Lily Roca, my dear friend Gloria Gray, and Dr. Tamara Chambers, who I happen to know. Thanks to all of you for being here tonight, making your contributions, and of course, Professor Ruiz, what will we do without you? You're just the best, and I thank you so much. When we started these programs earlier this year, the COVID was just on the horizon. And so we were trying to think about ways that people might be able to profit from this situation in terms of involving themselves in various learning activities. Didn't realize that we're going to have the Black Lives Matter movement start and some of the other things, but we thought this was a really great idea because so much of us are focused on the perils and the problems associated with this particular pandemic, but it also gives us an opportunity to reflect on what will life be after the pandemic. And we have an opportunity to really fashion that right now. And so this is one of those programs. This will be an ongoing series as we try to look at various topics in our society that really need to be highlighted and redressed. And obviously, I think that we all know that women in leadership is a really important subject. And why is it important? Well, it's important because of the talents that are there. All of us want to have the best organizations. We want to make the best decisions. We want to be as successful as we can. So we must make certain that we bring the talents of everyone to the forefront and that no one is impaired or impeded in the ability to make a contribution because of any artificial, immutable characteristics. And that's really so important. I was trying to find some famous quote to leave you all with. And as I was stumbling through the various quotations that I thought might be applicable, instead I came up with a poem. So I'd like to read the poem to you, if you don't mind, to kind of set a fertile environment for the conversation that's about to ensue. And the poem is this. You didn't come on a mission to save the world, or to fix the world, or to correct the world, or to make the world see the error of their ways. You didn't come forth to align the world, to unite the world. You didn't come forth to do anything other than have your experience, give birth to your preferences, align with your own preferences, and live happily ever after. You didn't come to earn worthiness. You already are worthy. You didn't come forth to become intelligent. You already are intelligence. You didn't come forth to achieve godliness. You already are God. You came forth for the pleasure of being the powerful creator that you are. With that, I thank you. I turn it over to you, Professor Louise, and I salute you all once again. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Well, President Brown, before you leave us, I did mention that you're the largest owned Black university in Southern California. Is it California or Southern California? I mean, it's a big deal. And so that's why it's so important, to support the University of West Los Angeles. Just talk about that for a minute.
Well, we're very proud of that. We are probably one of the largest Black-owned universities probably in the country. There are not many that are Black-owned. We're private. We're a for-profit private institution. We receive no federal or state subsidies. We're totally enrollment driven. We're very proud of the fact that we are accredited by the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, which is one of the foremost accreditors in the world, if not the foremost accreditor in the world. Our School of Law has been consistently accredited by the California State Bar since, I believe, 1978. So, we're very proud of what we've been able to achieve in this environment. And we thought it was very important, to be as a minority-owned institution, to also demonstrate what we can contribute to the community just as a whole. A lot of people don't realize we have two campuses. We have one in the San Fernando Valley and one in, Inglewood, Los Angeles, on the southern tip, southeast tip of Inglewood. And we have produced thousands of lawyers, hundreds of judges over the years. I have been an attorney now. This is my 42nd year of being an attorney. And so I'm very proud of that accomplishment. And I'm very proud of the institution. We are now growing our School of Business. About 5 or 6 years ago, we instituted a School of Business, which I'm just so proud of. We have a bachelor's degree in business administration as well as a master's degree in organizational leadership. We're going to be adding some other master's degrees very shortly, and we're having an MBA. We have discussions of a joint MBA JD program, and we're also talking about making certain that our one of the key components of our bachelor's in business program is a specialty in entertainment and sports management. So we're very excited about the prospects of this, and Professor Ruiz, thank you so much for highlighting that. But again, we're just so proud of what we do. We consider ourselves an elite university that's not elitist. And what that means is that we pride ourselves on being a great institution that provides very powerful education to our community, but we try to make that education available to all people from all different walks of life, all different socioeconomic status. We think that that's important, and we think that that's what a community university ought to be about. And that's what we're going to achieve. That's what we are achieving. We're very proud of it. So thank you again for asking, Professor Ruiz.
Well, thank you, President Brown. Now, the exciting stuff for me, my favorite topic, women leadership. So today in the United States, 47% of the workforce is women, right? But unfortunately, we're not represented at the top. So we're going to hear from some amazing women that have made it to the top in their field, and they're going to share some of the lessons. And first of all, I want to say that this is being streamed live on Facebook, in addition to all the participants we have on the webinar, because this is such an important topic. Now, without further ado, let me introduce the women, and then they're each going to speak. But I just want to, and I'm not going to go read their bios, because let me tell you, if I read their bios, we'd be here all night, because these are some amazing dynamic women. So first up, let me say hello to Gloria Gray. Hi, Gloria. And you're muted. So just wave because I'll come back to you because you're going to speak in a moment.
I just unmuted myself. Hello, Cynthia. Hello, ladies. And hello, President Brown. Thank you for having me here.
Yay. Next up, we have Joanne Peterson.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the invitation. And I was really impressed with what I've already learned in the first few minutes. So thank you.
Okay, Lily Rocha.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and looking forward to a great session. And so glad to see a lot of friendly faces.
And last but definitely not least, Dr. Tamara Chambers.
Hi, good to see everybody. Thanks so much for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, so let's just jump into the conversation. First up, I want to introduce Gloria Gray, who you just met. Now, Gloria and I have really known each other for many, many years. And let me tell you, this woman is fearless. She's fearless. She's been an advocate for the community her entire life, and she's found her niche in the field of water. Now, we all know that water is the essence of life and we all need water. And water up until this point has been predominantly a male-dominated field. But she got herself in there, and I'm proud to say that she is the first African-American woman to be elected as chairwoman of the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. And that is a big deal because that agency has been around, I don't know, maybe like 100 years, and they provide water to 19 million people. She was also the first African-American woman elected to the West Basin Water District. So she has found her niche in water. She has risen to the top, and it's because of her fearlessness, her compassion, and without further ado, let me welcome my friend who I lovingly call Gigi, Chairwoman Gloria Gray. Take it away, Gloria.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak to everyone this evening, actually. And President Brown, I want to say to you, thank you for having your educational institutions in our community. Thank you for your programs. Thank you for the opportunities that you are giving our communities. And I just want to applaud you for that. So thank you. And Cynthia, yes, we've known each other for ages, and I am so very proud of you. And thank you for how you inspire so many women. And I know that you are a true leader. You have done so many things and been so successful in so many areas. So I'm very proud of you, and I just want to acknowledge that. Thank you for also mentioning Metropolitan to some degree, but I wanted to first start out by, letting your listeners know exactly what Metropolitan is all about. Metropolitan Water District is the largest supplier of drinking water in the nation. We provide drinking water to 19 million people in 6 counties throughout Southern California. So we have a huge responsibility. And of course, our mission is to make sure that the water is safe, clean, and reliable. And so that's a very big task because, water is life. And you've heard the saying that whiskey is for drinking and water is like whiskey. It's very important, folks. And so there's a lot of passion in water when people talk about water. And so because it's so very important. Cynthia mentioned that I am not only the first African-American woman, but I am the first person of color to head up the board for Metropolitan Water District. And I am the second woman in its 90-year history. 90 years, it's only had one other woman besides myself. And that was at least 25 years ago, I believe. And so I am the first person of color, first African-American woman, of course, and the second woman. And that's significant because water is kind of looked at as a very conservative industry, and women have not been involved to the degree that they play a leadership role. So I am very proud of the opportunity to serve as chair of the board. Excuse me. I have 38 board members representing 25 member agencies and cities throughout those 6 counties. So it is a huge responsibility. I am in my 2nd year. It feels like I've been chair more than 2 years. It's quite an opportunity, but it is a huge challenge in terms of the things that we deal with, because the water here that we drink, most of it is imported. And so it's a huge responsibility to make sure that we have that important supply. Now, lessons learned along my journey is our topic today. And before I just kind of talk about some of the things that I've experienced, I do want to share with you some of the things that have been very important to me as I've moved along my journey. And I call them principles, or just things that have been with me that I continue to use, or that is important to me as I am in any particular leadership role in my career, in any role that I play. First of all, is that you really have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. That's first. Know that you are who you are and what you are, and no one can define who you are. And second, once you decide what you want to achieve, then you be very tenacious about it. You have to feel strongly. You follow your passion. I think Cynthia mentioned that. Follow your passion. Figure out sometimes your passion, you're not sure what your passion is. It comes to you. Cynthia mentioned, I found my niche in water. My background is healthcare. I was involved with LA County Health Services over 30 years. I recently retired as a healthcare administrator, so healthcare was my background. I also served as a school board member in the city where I live. I live in Inglewood. I was on the school board for a number of years. And I just happened to get in water. And like many of you, I didn't really know that much about water. I just knew that it was something that we use day to day, right? But I have found my niche. This is where I am supposed to be. And one thing I've learned along the way is that when you are a public servant, and I believe I am a public servant, not an elected official, I serve the public. So in whatever capacity you are, you're there to serve the public. And so back to the principles. First, you know who you are, and you're very tenacious about it. You carry yourself, whatever you need to do to achieve what you want to achieve. And then you're fully committed to it. I think women work very, very hard. I won't say we work harder than men, but we work very, very hard. I think that's part of us being women, our nurturing aspect of it. We work very hard to achieve whatever it is, whatever the task is. We're going to give it over 100%. We're always going to do that. and then you follow your, I call it your value system, the things that are important to you. You have integrity. For me, it's integrity, it's honesty, it's being forthright. And it's being respectful of folks. It's being, you listen to people, you think everyone has value. And so that has always been important to me, your value system. Because again, it goes back to knowing who you are. Because you will be faced with many decisions that you have to make. And some of them will be easier than others. And some will be very, very difficult. And I rely on my faith also. Faith is very important to me. And so that's part of my value system, if you will. And then after that, do the work, and you never, never give up. You never give up. You continue to work. You continue to know who you are. You continue to be fully committed, and you will be successful. And I think the success is based on what you believe is the best outcome for as you make your decisions. I would like to kind of share with you some of the things along the way, just some of the things that I've encountered, but those are principles that are very important to me as I have moved through my career. Visibility as a leader, we are very visible. When we're as chair of Metropolitan, it's a huge responsibility. So I'm very visible in terms of holding that role or that responsibility. And so because you have that visibility, it's power. And so you should use it for the greater good. Remember, you do have power when you are leaders. And so you have to use that power in a way that is beneficial to your constituents and to serve and to the community for the greater good, I believe, as you look at your principles. And so visibility, knowing that you are visible, and that's very important. We have a responsibility to use our power in relationships to affect change. We can affect change. And never has that been more important today. With the pandemic, the COVID-19 that's happening, we're all facing a number of challenges in terms of how we conduct our business. Metropolitan certainly has to continue delivering water in the manner that it does, but we're faced with other challenges, whether you're in the banking business or any industry or education or healthcare, whatever, it's a challenge. And so you have to use your visibility to get your message across. And I know all of you have seen the mayors of a number of the cities through this pandemic. And I've noticed that a lot of them are female, are women mayors, and they have delivered powerful messages. And that's what I mean about visibility, using your visibility to get your message across and affect change. In the past several weeks, our nation has witnessed a powerful movement about racial injustice. And again, wherever you are, if you believe that the movement has merit, then you can use your position to affect change. This last week also, the Supreme Court ruled to protect the LGBTQ community from workplace discrimination and to shield from deportation many young people who are contributing so much to our society. We must then use our voices to help seize this moment and drive change in these and other areas, to put a stop to injustice and to expand access to opportunities for those who have historically been shut out. That's what the movement is all about: equality, opportunities, justice. I hope that we can harness that same spirit of support and compassion to lift up our communities of color and create the fair, equitable, and inclusive society we all deserve. We have to lift up everyone in our communities. I had a meeting of community women. I invited them to Metropolitan a few months ago, and they had never been to Metropolitan, but I wanted them to see and to learn about water and the resources that are available to the community in water, and for them to be an advocate in their community and to be at the table when key decisions are made, because we do make important decisions as we do deliver water. I have been having conversations at agencies where I serve. Besides serving as chair of Metropolitan Water District Board, I also am president of West Basin Municipal Water District Board. I was elected to that board, and I'm serving now as president. And so it is also my responsibility to bring all of these issues to West Basin. And so I have been engaged with the general manager at West Basin Municipal Water District, who is Pat Shields, and also engaged with the general manager in Metropolitan Water District, Jeff Keidlinger. And we are looking into our systems to identify ways to improve. I believe there's always areas to improve in any system. It is clear to me that we must re-examine our own policies and practices. We must be courageous and honest. I believe that women are courageous, and I know we're honest. We are courageous. We have to keep telling ourselves that. We value our cultural differences and boldly, you have to be bold sometimes, and forging a path for change that will strengthen our commitment to diversity and inclusion. I truly believe diversity and inclusion makes a better decision-making process. I really do believe that. And as Metropolitan's first African-American chairwoman, this has been and continues to be a top priority for me to promote opportunities for all.
Wow, that's like so much. I'm trying to like digest like all this information, because you're saying follow your passion, make sure you have your values, never give up, like serve the community, make sure there's diversity. I mean, that's a lot of nuggets of information there. And I just want to say, Chairwoman Gray, how proud I am of you, because you've done so much, and you're one of the people that you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. And that's what you were talking about as chairwoman. Everybody's watching you and use that platform. So thank you for all you do. So I am going to move on to our next speaker, and I'm going to come back to you for some questions, so don't go too far.
Thank you.
So the next one up is Joanne Peterson. So I want to make sure that I get her title right. So Joanne Peterson is the Chief Human Capital and Development Officer for LA Metro. And we all know that LA Metro is a international internationally known as one of the world-class transportation systems. And Joanne has she has 20 years experience at the executive level. She also has a master's degree, and she has a leadership certificate from Harvard. Well, she also is excuse my language, badass labor negotiator. A few years ago, all of the labor contracts at LA Metro were up. So who did they send in? They sent in a woman. They sent in Joanne as a lead negotiator for all of these contracts. And guess what? She got the job done. So without further ado, let me welcome Joanne Peterson. Hi, Joanne.
Hi, Cynthia, and hi to everyone out there. This is just such an honor to speak with all of these talented women. Gloria is our neighbor. LA Metro and Metropolitan Water are very close together, and we have staff that work together on emerging workforce issues. So it's wonderful to be on this panel with Gloria. And a sideline, Gloria, is I grew up in the water industry. Before transportation, it was all about water, so I get it. I want to talk a little bit about LA Metro. We have 11,000 employees. Before COVID, we moved about 1.3 million people a day, and we moved them on buses and on light rail. I think one of the biggest hallmarks of LA Metro right now is the Measure M initiatives. In 2016, we passed the half-cent sales tax, which led to a 40-year plan to build 15 new lines through Southern California. So we have $120 billion worth of infrastructure that's on our agenda, and it keeps the HR person really busy with that agenda. So a wonderful place to work. I've learned so much and work with and for such wonderful people. So thank you. The thing that you asked me, Cynthia, was to think about lessons learned. And, I really captured it in 3 areas. And this one might sound simple, but I think it's really important. And that's really knowing that what you do and how you're adding value. Really being the expert and being someone that can be, does their homework and is relied on and can raise that credibility is so important to all of us. And I think what's not just important to the value we add, but knowing that your value add brings a lot of confidence to you. And I think that's an issue for women. But if I know I've done my homework and I know I can go in and really speak as an expert, that confidence comes naturally. And I really coach young people to think about that. Don't try to slide by, know your business. The second thing is about relationships. I always tell people never sacrifice a relationship at any level for a short-term gain. Cynthia gave the example of the labor contracts that we settled. You know, those are relationships that are still go on. I still sit twice a week right now during COVID at the table with all of those folks that we negotiated those contracts with. And there were times when I could have broken the relationship to get a short-term gain, but I knew I had a long-term relationship with them, and how, and you know, really, you know, learning how to take actions that leave the relationship intact. Doesn't mean that you're always aligned and you always agree, but be strategic and think about, after this action I'm going to take, what is going to be the condition of this relationship? And let's hope that it's a stronger relationship through collaboration. So that's the second item that I think about, the lessons that I've learned. The third one is advice from my mother. My mother used to tell me that God gave me 2 ears and 1 mouth for a good reason. And that was because I should be listening twice as much as I'm talking. And I must admit, my mother told me that just about every day, but I got it. And, you know, I think it is so important as a leader to be an active listener, to really understand and acknowledge people and know that they're heard and respond to them, that with what the issues are, whether you can fix it or not. But it's essential that, you know, to build what I call followership, to really lead, you need to have that ability to hear people and to be an active listener. So in a capsule, short, those are 3 things that I probably use every day of my career. And they were good lessons to have learned.
Wow, Joanne, thank you for sharing that, because they are so powerful, because, you know, people undervalue listening and they undervalue the power of relationships. You know, nobody gets things done in this life by themselves. So those are very, very powerful lessons. So next up, I want to bring in Lily Rocha to the conversation. Now, Lily is the CEO of the Los Angeles Latino Chamber of Commerce, and she is the founder of Sabor Latino Food Industry Trade Show, which is the largest Latin food trade show, which is amazing. She graduated from Berkeley, and this Latina went on to London to go to St. Mary's School. She's an advocate for the LGBTQ community and the American Heart Association. So help me welcome Lily Rocha. Hi, Lily.
Hi, how are you?
Blessed and grateful.
All right. Hope everyone can hear me. No, thank you so much. I am so happy to be here. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, President Brown. And thank you so much for including me in this panel. Yeah, as an advocate for the, not just for LGBTQ community, but for Latina women, I think my, you know, one of the greatest things that I've learned is about giving back. For sure. I echo the sentiments of the 2 ladies prior to me, because a lot of, you know, those are the things that we definitely need as women. You know, trustworthiness, confidence, believing in yourself. As a Latina woman, yeah, there's been some struggles. There's no question that, you know, I was wide-eyed, you know, bushy-tailed, wide-eyed in my early days, and really didn't understand that there's a lot of politics involved in so many things. I am not a fan of the political system, whether it's right now or, you know, in the past or whatever, because women, we have struggled so much. And I think, I don't know about you ladies, but my gosh, you know, this pandemic has really shown how strong we really are, because I know that not only have I been on, you know, 100,000 Zoom calls, but, you know, I'm cleaning my house, I'm vacuuming while I'm doing that, I'm cooking dinner, I'm cooking, you know, 3 meals a day for various people. And you know, having that emotional sort of COVID-19 pandemic, you know, situation while you're the CEO of, you know, of an organization and a volunteer at various other organizations, that it takes its toll on you. And I think, you know, understanding and being, you know, throughout your life, whether it's this pandemic or whatever, you know, whatever situation, but just being cognizant of that, we are women, and you know, we need to acknowledge that we sometimes, you know, have to take care of ourselves, take care of your heart, take care of your mind, because you know, we are strong, we can definitely do all this, but at the same time, one of the things I've learned is like, don't try to do it all. Sometimes, yeah, I do need to take a break or go outside and just like zen out for a moment and not try to take everything on. One of the greatest joys that I've had in my life is mentoring the youth, especially young ladies, because I remember, some of the things that you've talked about where, I went to UC Berkeley and I did all these things. I got skipped up 2 grades, but I never had mentors when I was young. And I was always afraid to go to do internships. And so, and that was because financially, my family couldn't afford it. We couldn't afford for me to, go and do some free work for anybody. And so I try to make sure that I offer when I've had internships, every single internship that I've ever offered through my company has been a paid internship for young people. And so I didn't want them to lose out on, getting paid, but I wanted them to learn a lot as well. For me, that's been the greatest joy, is working with young people. Some of the best advice that I've ever received was, again, to echo the other speakers, is to listen. Listening is the most, it is such a valuable skill. You really want to listen. And with me, I try to read body language with people. That's so important, because in the industry that I'm in, I have a lot of, sales and marketing, a lot of schmoozing to do. So learning how to read people, learning how to listen to, what their needs are. I like to always bring fairness to the table. I have been known to be, someone who will speak her mind, but I always feel that, and again, I could be wrong, but I always feel that I bring fairness to the table, and I always come to any situation to be fair. I don't approach any situation to see what I can get out of people, or what, how I can get one over on people. And I think that's really, really important. I think, as women, we kind of, and again, not to say that men don't do this, but I think we, we're caregivers, we're, growing up differently. We do have a different situation. So I do bring that to the table. I think that, leadership skills of men and women, very, very different, of course. I think for us Latinas, one of the lessons that I try to teach the young ladies is that don't take everything personally. It is not about you. It is not about you. And I think once I learned that lesson myself, when I was probably in my 30s, in my mid 30s, things got so much better, because it's not about you, and don't take things personally. And now what I try to do is I try to just bring to every situation that, that kind of, just that mentality of like, hey, this is about this is about this. And I don't try to take things personally with people, because we don't know what's going on with other people. We don't know what they're going through, and having that empathy towards others, always helps you out as well. As I get older, I think I'm just more peaceful and confident in what I do. And I wish I had that confidence when I was young. I'm raising a 12-year-old young lady, and I try to teach her confidence. I think she's a little too overconfident now. So a little too confident now, but she's amazing. And I try to teach her some of the lessons that I didn't get until I was much older. Again, our path as women, I think being vulnerable and being able to say, like what I just said, this pandemic has not been easy, especially when you're, running a business, you have children, you have a job, you have, all these things that you have. It hasn't been easy at all. And I commend all the people that I see, on Zoom and, kind of doing their thing. And, but I'm doing that as well. Everybody sees me, but there are the moments when I need to sit down. I have cried. I have been scared of catching COVID. I've been scared for my family. So, scared for friends. And then, you wake up the next day and you just do it all over again. Oh, again, one last thing I'm going to say is consistency. A lot of my friends ask me, how do you do this? How do you do, again, consistency. It's like showing up, showing up. Don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on what you're doing, but be consistent about it. Because I see people, they start, they're running and then they stop. And I've seen this time and time and time again. Or that I run into people that they're still doing the same thing that they were doing 5 years ago. And, again, that consistency and growth is something that, is very, very necessary. Anyways, I don't want to take up everyone's time, but I can talk your ear off, but I would love to connect with everybody. Please, check me out on Instagram or LinkedIn. I'd love to continue the conversation. So.
Well, thank you so much, Lily, because Lily, I mean, actually, I know almost all the panelists, and they're all these amazing women that do so much work, but they're servant leaders because they go out in the community and work day in and day out. Now, last but definitely not least is Dr. Tamara Chambers. She is one of the few African-American surgeons at LAC USC Medical Center. She's actually a medical director. She went to Stanford, and then she went and got her medical degree at Drew UCLA. And so welcome, Dr. Chambers.
Hello, thanks to everyone. Thanks to the UWLA family. Thanks so much for having me. As you asked me to think about 3 leadership lessons, it was kind of hard to boil down to just 3, but this is kind of what I came up with. My first one is really about letting your work speak for you. Unlike many of the panelists, I came into, I had this delayed moratorium because of my medical career. So I came into getting my first job probably not until I was in my 30s. And, even though I had studied all of this science, I really had an interest in doing a lot of leadership activities, and really running the hospital and changing the way that we deliver healthcare to our patients. So I think that, just working through, letting my work speak for me. I was interested in the way that the operating room ran. So I started working on that and I got a title for that. I was interested in the way that my clinic ran. I was interested in the way that the hospital ran and the way that we took care of our trainees. So, I let my work speak for me, and then the title came later. And I think that that's something, don't go into it with, looking for the title. And the title doesn't necessarily give you the leadership, either. But assume that you've always had the position, that you have the position, and let the title come to you later, would really be the first one that I would say. The second thing I would say is knowing your team and appreciating what they have to offer. I train a lot of residents. I work with a lot of students. I work with a lot of attendings, different physicians, different levels of people. I have nurses, I have audiologists, I have speech pathologists, a lot of people that, I work with that answer to me. And everybody has their positives and everybody has their negatives. But I think that you need all of that to make your team work. There are some times when I have residents that are very much introverted. They're very science minded. They don't tend to have the conversations with me as other residents that maybe are more creative, but we need everybody to be able to make our team work. And I think that trying to draw out those different aspects of people and bring them into, your fold to help reach your goals is very important. So, whether you think about them in terms of like Myers-Briggs types, judging and perceiving, or introverts and extroverts, really trying to understand someone. And I think it's not just understanding someone professionally, but also personally. I think it's those relationships that you understand personally that will allow you to understand them professionally. If you're giving them a lot of work, a lot of tasks to do, but at the same time, they have a newborn baby at home, or they have family commitments, or they have long commutes, they're not going to be able to reach that potential. So I think understanding where somebody is personally is really going to help them, understand them professionally as well. I found a quotation just about the role of a great leader is not to give greatness to human beings, but to help them extract the greatness that they already have inside of them. And I think that if you can understand where someone's coming from, that you will be able to extract kind of their wholeness of who they are, and they will be better able to contribute to the team. The third one, I think that people touched upon it several times about multitasking and about being women and how we're, pulled in all these multitude of directions. And I think that is a skill that women, we tend to have, and we do it very well. We can, any given moment in my office, I'm being called to the operating room, I'm at my desk, I'm on my phone, there's messages going, Zoom is in the background, there's a telephone call, and somebody's standing at my desk all at the same time. And I think that art of multitasking is, something that we need to really value. As we're doing all of those things, we have to make sure that we don't burn out, of course. But I think that we also have to, really appreciate the art of multitasking with regards to time. So, while we're staying in the moment and multitasking, we also have to think about, and keep one foot into the future. And what is the future going to look like? I call it, we're playing chess, not checkers. Not what our next move is, but maybe what our next 5 moves are, to make sure that we get to, where we're going, and always keeping an eye on that with, with this strong multitasking gift that we have. So those would be my, kind of top 3 that I thought about that I think that, would be helpful in terms of leadership lessons.
Well, thank you so much for that, because I always say it takes teamwork to make the dream work. And so, yeah, it's true that women do multitask. And since I am a leadership expert, I study leadership. And basically what the leadership experts say is that women and men have different leadership styles. Women lead from social power and men lead from individual power, meaning that women are more compassionate and they look out for the greater good. Men are more competitive and more individualistic. I'm not putting judgment in that. I'm just saying that that's what the leadership books say. So I'm going to ask a question, and this may catch you a little bit off guard, but obviously, we've been talking to the women and you've shared some amazing lessons, but now I want to turn, let's talk to the men. Let's talk to the men. So I'm going to ask you each, and I'm going to start with you, Joanne. I'm going to ask you each to give some advice to the men. So Joanne, we can't hear you.
There, now I bet you can. Okay. The advice that I would give to men about working with women and women leadership is really to strengthen their empathy muscle. I think that if men could operate thinking about empathy, it would really add a tremendous amount of benefit. And I think, again, going back to the model, not thinking about the competitiveness, but really trying to walk in other people's shoes. I find, and I've worked for a long time with people and seen how it's impacted them, when men have daughters, and daughters that even particularly are getting ready to go to college or to leave college or that kind of thing, I see that empathy for women in their workplace to grow. They want to advance and support these women that they care about. It might be their daughters, it might be their wives, mothers, sisters. But really thinking about how that is transferable to the women that you work with and the women on your team. And I would challenge men to think about that, because I really do know so many men in the workplace that are passionate about advancing the careers of their daughters and seeing the value they add, but how can they transfer that on? I think, when men are asked how they want the experience in the workplace to be for their wives, daughters, mothers, sisters, it really gets them to think about improving the experience overall for women in the workplace.
Thank you for that. Chairwoman Gray, give a message to the men. Unmute yourself and then let us hear it.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now, Cynthia? All right, thank you. Well, I was thinking about your question. I was listening to Joanne, and Joanne made some good points. I think men, their leadership style is where they tend to kind of jump in when they're leading. And I think women kind of lean in more. And what I mean by that is that when women lead, we're more collaborative. We listen more. Someone made a point about listening. I think listening is extremely important because you can learn something from listening. We're more inclusive. We want dialogue. We encourage dialogue. And so I think our style is very different. So I encourage men, lean in more. Don't, be assertive, but not overly assertive, so that you will give people the opportunity to provide feedback, dialogue, input, so that when you do reach your decision, it is more collaborative. So I think women are more collaborative in their effort to reach decision making when they are leading.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I'm going to go to Dr. Chambers. Talk to the men for a minute. I mean, you're in a male-dominated field. So what message do you have to men?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I do. I am with a lot of men, and I think that it really comes down to the listening portion of it. I think I listen a lot, and I might be a little bit slower to react. But I think that my message to the men would be, don't count me out, especially because of my gender. I'm very competitive, and I'm coming. So I think that that's something that I would definitely let the men know, that I'm right there with you. Don't judge a book by its cover.
Lily, what message do you have for the men out there?
I love Dr. Chambers' message. I really love what I see to the younger generation. I've had some great projects that I've worked on in the last couple of years with some very fine young men, and their attitude. And I mean, I have to say, I'm in my late 40s, and I was talking about men in their early 30s, mid 30s, and it's been great. I like what I see in terms of collaboration and their different attitude towards women. I think they're really getting the fact that women, like Dr. Chambers just said, don't judge a book by its cover. We have a lot to offer, and we bring a lot to the table. So I do see a lot of that, and it makes me very happy for the next generation. So I say, keep that going, because we need that, especially for the upcoming generation. But I've had the privilege of working with some amazing young men who and I felt very, very I felt like it was a very egalitarian situation, and it was good. I liked what I saw, and I didn't see that in my past, when I was in my early 20s or early 30s. I didn't necessarily see that, but I do see that now, and I'm very happy.
So you mentioned future generations. So ladies, let's talk to the young women out there for a minute. If you can give one piece of advice to these amazing young women that are watching, what would that be? And I'm going to start with Dr. Chambers.
My bit of advice for the young women is to have the confidence and to keep going. Not to give up, not to think that there's any limits. Everything is a possibility and an opportunity. And, don't feel like you're held back. I think that, kind of, I don't know, maybe probably not even my generation, but probably, we've been making strides more and more to try and, move the needle on the way that we're seen as, workers, as mothers, as wives, and we're doing it all. And I just hope that the next generation takes the ball and continues to move it forward and push some of these agendas to continue to make everybody's voice be heard.
Thank you. Chairwoman Gray, I know that you have daughters and you may even have grandkids. Talk to the young women for a minute and give them a nugget of advice or a nugget of wisdom.
Give them wisdom. Well, I certainly agree with Dr. Chambers. I mean, first of all, you have to have the confidence to really move forward. And I think part of that confidence building is to engage with other women who can give you that confidence to move forward. So, building relationships is very important along the way. Building relationships so you have that support system. So, once you have that confidence and you have a support system, you never give up. You prepare for whatever you want to achieve, and you're totally committed to it. And so I always tell my kids and grandkids and so forth, that you can do it. I mean, those are kind of my words. You can do it, and if you need help, I'm there to help you. There's people there to support you. Reach out to folks. Be surprised how many people are there to support you. So I encourage all women, and certainly those who need some encouragement, is that you can do it. There are people around you who will support you, and just know that, have the confidence. And when you do it, I always say to folks, I'm so proud of you. I think we started out by me saying to you, Cynthia, I'm so proud of whatever people do that's positive. You always say, I'm proud of you. That's part of what I do. When I get many women who come up to me when I speak, and I always listen and give them time, listen to them. So you can do it. You have people out there who are there behind you to support you.
Thank you for that. Lily.
Well, I will say that nothing pains me more than when I hear a young person say that they can't do something, especially, the young ladies, and I've seen it where, they really, say, oh no, I can't do it. I can't possibly do that. That pains me so much. And again, it's the confidence that I would say, be confident in yourself and just remember, why not you? Why not you? One of the greatest things that happened to me recently was a young lady that when I was in college, I was a server and she was a bus girl, like a busser. And I remember she would say to me, oh, I want to go to college, because I was going to college, and she said, but I can't afford it. I can't do this. And I said, make it happen, make it happen, make it happen. And I would tell her this constantly. Well, I think less than 2 years ago, about 2 years ago, I got a LinkedIn message from a young lady who had just finished her master's degree, and it was her. And she said that she credited me because I used to pound that into her head every day and tell her to you can do it. And then don't forget, you can do it. You can still do it, even if you're not young, and you can always go to University of West LA. And I'm thinking about doing that myself, because I started law school just because I wanted to do personal development and law, and it's never too late. So that's my shameless pitch for University of West LA.
Joanne. And you are on mute.
There's been such great comments from the other panelists, but I think, one of the things, that advice I would give young women is the most important relationship you're going to have is with yourself. The time and energy that you spend on really knowing who you are and understanding what are your assets and also liabilities. And when I talk about liabilities, that doesn't mean that you need to do everything, but you need to know how to leverage your assets, how to leverage your strengths, and how to surround yourself with with people or with tools that are going to help you mitigate your liabilities. And I think the deeper that our knowledge of ourselves is, the better it is. And with that, I think comes the ability to speak and act with authenticity. And that's invaluable when you look at leadership. Our ability to speak authentically is so important, because I think human beings in general have radar for a lack of authenticity. That people know that and they can pick it up. And so, people need to know that as a leader that you're being real, that you are, they're not going to follow you until they know that you're authentic, that you're real, and what your strengths are, and you bring people around you that help you mitigate your liabilities. Also, when you act from authenticity, I think people are more forgiving. They're more forgiving when you make a mistake, because they see that, they get to know you, and they understand through your transparency and your honesty that you're as human as they are, and people can move on. So build that relationship with yourself. Make sure you know your assets, your liabilities, and leverage those assets and go do great things.
And you put it so nicely, because I would have said people don't like BS when it comes down to it, but you put it so eloquently. So for me, the message I have for all women and everyone is anything is possible. Anything is possible. First of all, you have to believe it's possible. You have to do the work and never give up. So I'm going to ask everybody to share their contact information. How can people get a hold of you? Do you have a website? Do you have email? Do you have social media? So Dr. Chambers, if people wanted to learn more, how can they learn about you?
Oh, wow. If people want to know more about me, I'm not really on social media, but I can share an email address if somebody were so inclined. I'm at USC, so I'm at the Keck School of Medicine in the Department of Otolaryngology, head and neck surgery.
Okay, Chairwoman Gray, how can people get a hold of you?
Yes, they can send an email to chairwoman of the board at mwdh2o.com. Be happy to talk with them.
Lily.
Okay, so you can get a hold of me on Instagram, and it's very easy. It's the Lily Rocha. So, and that's Lily with 2 L's. So the Lily Rocha on Instagram, and then we can connect. We can go from there.
Joanne.
You can find me at the Metro website. If you look at staff, and you can find me there, or you can find me on LinkedIn. And it's an easy name, Joanne Peterson, and it's Joanne with an E and Peterson with a T and an O.
And for me as your moderator, my name is Cynthia M. Ruiz. I have a website, cynthiamruiz.com, really easy. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, and guess what? It's 7 o'clock. We're that good that we could wrap it up in an hour. So I just want to let's give our panelists a round of applause. Yay, they're amazing women. Now you see why we had them. And if you want to get a hold of the University of West Los Angeles, it's UWLA.org. Thank you. I am so grateful for the panelist time and everybody for watching. Thank you and have a great evening. Bye.